is abusive, contusion is art. Start at the bottom, carving at the brains. Part in the autumn, alarming are the stains. I am the nothing and I am here to be what you feel. A last breath that is never left to what is real. Right at the light, hiding in plain sight. I am the nothing inside of a long dark night. Bats in the attic, walls at the gate. Crows in the static, sense in your fate. Nothing in your mind, nothing in your soul. Nothing in your heart, nothing to control. I am the nothing and I don't think you're ready for death. Tight at the chest, nothing left, suffer your breath. I fought the journey of third density just to find a life worthy of mine. Tethered, I'm intertwined. I am the nothing, I am void of life.
Well, what's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 16 of Horror Corridor. We are here with the Dirtcore mastermind, Crossworm.
That's who I am today. That's who I'll be tomorrow. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Of course, man. Like, this is great having you here. We already had Max on, Mad Max, and we had Jay Hex on, and now we're getting to the head of the Dirtcore label, which is you.
That's me.
You kind of want to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about yourself and your label?
Sure, yeah. So, obviously, I'm Crossworm. I've been Crossworm since 98. I started in a horrorcore group called Two Corpse. And back then, you know, that's when I coined the term Dirtcore. It was kind of a corny thing that I did. It was like, what do worms live in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Live in the fucking dirt. And I was like, it was just really, really basic. Didn't think much of it. But as the years went by, it kind of became its own thing. And I sounded unique enough where people were like, oh, it's its own thing. And I was like, no, I was being funny. But here we are, you know, 20 some years later, and it's a thing.
Taking on a life of its own, sort of.
Yeah, it really has, man, for sure.
Yeah, and now people just are going to be mentioning Dirtcore just like all the other labels, which is kind of already what's happening, which is cool.
That's great. Yeah, finally. You know, and it's kind of my fault for not doing this for like just myself for so long. Like, I always wanted to open this as an official label, but I had these stupid hang-ups that I needed to get over first.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to start signing some of these dudes that I've built a rapport with for like 10 years, and nobody said no. So here we go.
Oh yeah. Do you want to go through all the names like that we didn't mention? There's a couple more, right? We got Samson.
Oh yeah, Samson. We got Mumra, Mad Max, and the J-Hex Project.
Hell yeah. And then of course you.
Yeah, and of course Crossworm. Yeah. And whatever else I think I've got a million different side projects. You know?
I was about to say, like, you yourself is like, that's kind of what makes sense about you having a label is you have so much stuff like as an umbrella. Do you want to go over a couple of those names your side projects?
Okay, yeah. Let me see. Last year I started a project called Animal, and like I'm really into like synth pop shit, like from the 80s, and I've always wanted to do a record like that, but dark synth. And so I started up Animal, put out 2 EPs last year at this time. And then shortly after that, the end of 2021, I started something called Heathen. And Heathen is just like really dark horror composing beats. It's kind of like, I'm kind of use it to transition into, like film scoring, stuff like that.
That's cool, man. I actually listened to some of that, and my mind was already working, like trying to picture a movie to it. It's nice. It would fit really well. I think it would fit well in, like, we've already talked about it on the show a little bit, like, but the A24 movies, like those modern horror films like Hereditary or It Follows. It kind of reminded me a little bit of the It Follows soundtrack. So
and I get that it's really, really busy for movies like that, but I think you kind of have to flex when you're just like, oh, I'm gonna make an album of composing, you know, and then they'll pick and choose and place
because they're not watching anything, so you're pretty much creating a soundscape for them to make a movie in their head too. At this point, right. Cool. So how did this all start? What got you into horrorcore, and what started you before you got into the scene? Because I mean, before we even say horrorcore, I wouldn't say your music style is specifically horrorcore, but there is shreds of it throughout your career.
See, I always think of horrorcore as not a genre per se, but a content. Because there's so many different types of artists out there doing horrorcore. Like some are metal dudes, you know? And so it's there. It's always been there. And even for a while, I remember when Frank first started doing the cards, the collector's cards, he approached me for it, and I was like, I don't know if I'm a horrorcore artist. So I kind of passed on it. And at the time, he was like, what are you talking about? You know, you've been in the scene forever. Like, I could name songs that were fucking brutal. Even like, I mean, I could get into that, but so, okay. What you were actually asking was, how did I get into it?
Yeah.
But I started as a musician in like 91. I was a drummer. And then I was about 14 years old. It was like 1995. I discovered ICP and Nodus. So I started as a Juggalo rapper.
Okay.
And that's what got me into horrorcore. But back then, like, we didn't call it horrorcore.
Mm-hmm.
It was just the wicked shit because that's who we were listening to, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was Isham and ICP, and that's what they called it. So that's what, all of us were into that were in the scene back then. And then a couple years later, after listening to them, I think I was like 17, 1998. It's like, I want to try this. I want to give it a shot. And then I just never stopped after that.
Nice. And that was when you were Two Corpse, right?
Yep, Two Corpse was the beginning of it. And like I said, we were a Juggalo group. Our first name was actually Two Carnies. Like, straight up, not doing our own shit original. But, and after that, I think I passed on a demo to Q Strange. And his stuff wasn't even pro yet. He was still recording in his basement. Like, this is 97, 98. And kind of just asked him for some tips. And he was like, what's with all the ICP shit? Why are you talking about all this stuff? It's not, you don't even know those guys. Back then, the whole like Juggalo scene, we didn't know about that. It was too early for that. So he didn't even really, he was just like, why are these guys ripping off ICP? You should do your own thing, man. And I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. Okay. But then I did, and we switched it over to Two Corpse, and shortly after that is when I changed my name to Crossworm. Before that, it was like Mentally Corrupt. Or something. It was like a real stereotypical, name.
So since nobody can hear Two Corpse, because I've tried and I can't, it's on your Bandcamp, but it's like blank. How would you explain Two Corpse, the 3 releases? Like, what did it sound like? What kind of delivery did you use?
So it really was kind of like before glitch hop existed, it really was kind of glitched because I would chop samples out of CDs digitally and kind of force them to do certain things, like pitch them, and it was a really, really archaic version of how hip-hop beats were made just with vinyl, right? But in a way, it was very industrial hip-hop. It was very glitch, used a lot of effects on the vocals because everybody did back then, a lot of distortion, a lot of phase, like
KGP,
capital G, that kind of thing. And also because we were insecure, we were just trying to hide how much we sucked with effects.
Well, the effects did help cover up that digital distortion that came on a lot, especially if you're not living in the same city and you're sending the files back and forth. Like, it can really like degrade, depending on how much you know about what you're doing. Like, and eventually get some really bad sound files. You're going to have to cover it up with filters. Yeah,
no question. But back then we were literally recording directly to cassette tapes. We'd have like a double deck. I'd have my beats recorded onto a cassette with the line out on the computer. Then I'd play the beat cassette, record with the other one, microphone line. It was just this whole. So we had to like all those early basement tapes were live.
Oh, okay.
And if we fucked up, we had to start all over
back in the
again.
Beginning. Yeah, I remember doing that shit, man.
Oh man, old school.
Yeah, me, it was more like trying to do like Depeche Mode and Nirvana style stuff on a 4-track. But like,
nice.
I do remember the day I figured out that I could put a vocal. Like, I was in 5th grade and I like ran vocals through a guitar pedal, and I was like, "Holy shit, you can do this!" Like,
yeah, so cool back then. You're like, "Yep, I'm doing that for sure."
Yeah, that's cool, man. Good times recording that way, but it would be really hard to go back to that.
Oh, for sure. Like, and that's kind of been my whole segue into quality. I made myself a promise early on: never go back. Always go forward. Even if something happens where I'm out of a place to stay, I don't have the gear, don't fucking go backwards. So, and that's kind of like it's bad because it holds you back when you don't have the means. But if you want to do it, you'll push yourself forward. You'll make it happen.
Yeah, that's cool. So what was the scene like growing up?
Yeah, so shortly after I discovered the Wicked shit, like I said, I was 14. 3 years later, I was doing it. But back then, the horrorcore scene still wasn't even called horrorcore yet. We hadn't accepted that term until we got online. And the first website was called Killa's Realm. Back in the day, the word Killa was a term of endearment. It meant like brother. You know what I mean? And they had this chat, this IRC style chat. It was fucking archaic, man. It was like, you had to, looking at it was like reading the Matrix. It was just basic as fuck. But we all congregated there at the Killer's chat. And I remember Bad Mind before, he was just a little kid. You know, he had to have been 15 back then. Wasn't producing yet, but he was in there as Bad Mind. I remember Comatose was in there. Mars was in there. And shortly after Killer's Realm fizzled out, Bad Mind and the creator did splatter music. And all these sites back in the day, they would have an artist section you would click on. And it would list all the artists in the genre, right? So that's how we validated ourselves. If you weren't on that list, you were like trying to get on that list, right? And it was like a Wikipedia type thing. If Wikipedia doesn't say you're real, you don't exist, you know, that
Yeah, yeah.
So we're all, like, most of us were all just teenagers. We're just little kids trying to get acceptance, trying to fit in. And that's the way those sites were back then. Maybe your website had a guest book. Do you remember guest books where people would just leave comments?
Yeah, yeah. I forgot all about that.
Right, remember that shit?
Like a site counter, or
Yeah. So like when you discover the Wicked shit and you start making it, the first place you go is like ICP's website and you bomb their fucking their guest book, right? I even remember their old webmaster's name was Jelly Nuts. It's the fucking hilarious shit. I still remember that name. But we would bomb the guest book, and then the people that ran splatter music would recruit through it, would start sending messages back saying, hey, we have a community, blah, blah, blah. And that's how most of us came together.
That's awesome. So what would be like your original clique, that you would say, like your original group of dudes that you kind of grew up with? Because you've been in a lot of different circles over your life, like Prone, you've been around Mission Effect guys, you've been around fucking everything.
I've always been on the outside of all these. Like with Prone, I designed their logo. But
you did features, a lot of features too. With people from them.
Did I really? Well, I don't know, because I think I only worked with Gruesome on a track on Devil's
Maybe that's all I'm thinking. Well, I saw a couple tracks he did with Gruesome on YouTube, but
and I did mix a bunch of his joints for a while too during the Prone era, so maybe that's the connection too.
Okay.
But with Mission Effect, man, I always wanted to get in with them guys. But I got kind of they did it by vote back in the day. Somebody vetoed the vote. I don't know who it was. But then I ended up just like working with them dudes anyways, like outside of Mission Infect, like mixing their stuff and passing beats around and shit like that. But I think the first person in the scene that I ever clicked up with was two people, was Menacide and McNasty.
Okay.
And they had done 13% records, and I was the person that they brought into that. So that was my little,
that's cool.
Crew.
And was that around the time Mouthful of Dirt came out?
It was just after. So the end of 2008, I think.
Okay.
And I might be fucking it up, but pretty sure it's around that time.
Yeah, Mouthful of Dirt is such a good fucking album. And would you consider that your first Crossworm album?
It was technically my third Crossworm album, but I feel like I was just kind of trying to find my way in the other two, and that was the one where even the scene stopped ignoring me. Finally, I felt like I was relevant, and they were like, "What the fuck is this?" I
just feel
a cool feeling.
That song "Shades of Grey." I just feel like having it be so old in your career, but I feel like it really sums up your musical style. And it's like it still holds up. Like that could be one of your new songs. so
That's
good.
dope. And it has all like pieces of a little bit of everything that I kind of do stylistically.
Yeah, and then Thievery completely changes it up and then kind of more like a mid-tempo, almost Nine Inch Nails sounding song.
Yeah.
And like at that point I was kind of just like, man, this guy's always kind of had it, because like
I appreciate that, man.
it's very consistent, like especially how professional everything sounds throughout. Like I haven't heard Two Corpse, but like you said, you learned your lesson on those records. So what is the Dirt Boy?
Dirt Boy. Oh man, I was in college. It was '06. I was in audio school, and I wanted to experiment with just doing like some kind of weird EDM shit, like industrial with no vocals. So I really it was just like a beat project kind of thing. It was basically a precursor to what Heathen is, only more of like a club aspect versus sound scoring.
Oh, cool. That's sweet. And then you've had a few bands. One of them was that Dear Dangerous?
Dear Dangerous, yep. I was the drummer and the producer in that.
And then what was Sun Sky and Surface?
Sun Sky and Surface was the singer of Dear Dangerous and myself just doing beats. And we considered it more of like a dark synth pop kind of thing. Only really fucking dark. But we ended up touring that project. We opened for Hurt and Smile Empty Soul. Did not fit on that bill. Like, it was on some alternative grungy kind of shit, and then it was us, this dark synth pop stuff. You got to remember too, it's 10 years ago. People still were not used to seeing that dynamic on stage. If you're not doing this, people don't get it. Like if you're not strumming a guitar, people are like, what the fuck am I looking at?
I remember that. Now, it's weird to think that change happened, because I didn't really notice it until you just mentioned it. But if you were to bring out a keyboard and some programming shit at a metal show, unless you're like Cradle of Filth or like Gravity Kills type show, you're fucked.
And especially with just two people.
Yeah, because they're just they're gonna think hip hop, or they're gonna think like some nutty Kraftwerk dance stuff or something.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of was like a weird mix of all kinds of shit like that too. So
yeah, I thought it kind of sounded like Stabbing Westward, but like with like a pop, more of a pop punky edge to it.
That's the fucking best compliment I could imagine. That's awesome. Because I was a big Stabbing Westward fan for sure. Well,
your vocals are very influenced by the singer. I don't know his name off the top of my head, but
Chris Hall from Stabbing Westward.
Yeah, you guys do have the higher pitch. I don't know what you'd call that vocal range, but
I think it's an alto. I think I'm
alto.
An alto.
Yeah, you're on the higher end. I was gonna ask really quick too. Do you ever go low? Or would you maybe like modulate that with like some sort of plug-in to go low?
I would probably have to go low on a ballad, because everything else is so high energy that I have to hit the top range. You know what I mean? I have to really belt. But for me personally, I think if I were to go low, it's more from the throat than the diaphragm. So the beat's got to be chill. Okay. And I haven't really been writing too many chill joints lately.
Yeah.
But it's not out of the question.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to hear you go for that lower end, but I love the range that you do have is pretty wide, because it's not just, like I said, you have that Stabbing Westward style where it's it's almost getting up to falsetto at times, where it's like very loud. And then there's also a grimier, almost like I mentioned Cradle of Filth earlier, but on Shades of Grey, you're doing that like that, that scream.
The fry scream, yeah.
Yep. And so you do have a huge range, and that's just something that's worth bringing up, I think.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
I worked at it a lot.
Yeah, it's cool, man. And like you say, like I've heard you say, you're kind of a jack of all trades. And I really like people like that. Trent Reznor. You could even mention people like in hip hop, like the Joker or something, where they kind of just do everything on their own, develop their own sound, and it's just like kind of an unstoppable force on their own. So that's just really cool. And then Parasite Avenue, that was one that had a few features on it. You had Dirty from Mission Effect, Low Key from Mission Effect, I Am Gilgamesh. I have not heard of them before. Who's that?
Gilgamesh is a rapper from Tucson.
Oh, actually, I think I've seen them online and stuff. Are they still around?
It's just one dude.
Okay. Is he still around?
It might be. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Midwest Monsters is somebody that you've worked with quite a lot.
Yeah. I actually mixed, mastered, and drew the artwork for all 3 of their records.
Cool.
So I think that's the most I've ever like worked with an artist outside of like being a label and signing somebody, but that would be pretty close, you know.
Are they somebody that you still continue to work with and talk to? Or
yeah.
Are they still around?
Well, Midwest Monsters is Dubs and K Dot.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that actually.
Yeah.
I know Dubs, but and who's the other guy?
His name's K Dot.
Okay.
Colton Seagrave. And I fucking love those records. They're so like, they say shit that I'm like too afraid to say. You know what I mean, they say some crazy, like, wow, you're gonna get canceled for that shit.
Yeah. I love stuff like that.
But it's fun. It's awesome, and I think that they might have lost touch with each other, and that's why the project didn't go on. But if they put out another record, man, I'm gonna be like, hey, let's do this on Dirtcore, boys.
It's kind of weird. Like they never really blew up that much, but like they had a really professional sound. It sounded like something that could have caught on, but it just never. I mean, it made it into like small circles, but it never like got huge. I really think that kind of people missed out on it on the Midwest Monsters thing.
And I mean, Dubs is a fucking genius.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Dude, his hook, he's like the fucking Nate Dogg of the underground. His hooks are just buttery. And it's one thing to be able to sing. It's another thing to write that fucking good. He just writes good. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, and he's got a really wide range of like lyrical content. Yeah. He can go really dark, he can go really positive. Me, of course, I'm a horrorcore guy, so not every Dubs track is for me.
Yeah.
Like I don't like his positive stuff very much because I don't really like any positive or conscientious
rap. I don't
rap.
listen to positive shit either, so I get it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but good for him. Like, and make that money, or like if that's what you're feeling, then fuck yeah, get it out. You know, that's cool for any artist that's down to do that. That's cool, and I think that type of stuff is actually more popular than the kind of stuff I like anyway. So it's like, like I always tell people, I'm like, don't cater to me because the shit I like is like.
I was just gonna say that. That's the exact shit I was just about to say. Like I just tell people like my taste sucks, bro. So don't worry about me. You know?
Exactly, man. Like, but at the same time, my tastes rule because I have a fucking awesome show with lots of good artists on it. So. You can't go too far, but at the same time, like, yeah, I do like some trash, and I'm proud of it. But when it comes to movies and stuff, it's the same way, you know? Like,
for sure.
Everyone likes a trashy B movie once in a while. Like, same with a musical artist. So
I mean, and I'm guilty of loving like horror movies that are just completely pop. You know, they're not like good in any kind of way. I'm just like, I just like it. It's a guilty pleasure, but not guilty. You know?
Yeah. I like anything that's not. I like anything that's not like too new and mainstream with like all the CGI and like seriousness. So like if it's mainstream, I want it to be kind of funny and kind of gory, if that makes sense. But if it's going to be a mainstream movie, I can't handle any more Conjuring shit. I can't handle any more like scared person alone in a house walking around hearing noises. Like it's just so boring for me now.
Man.
The more mainstream it is, the more I want it to be more like Zombieland or like I don't know, like something like hilarious,
quirky at least, at the very least, you know.
But yeah, I think like independent cinema is like where it's at when it comes to horror for the last 10 years for sure.
I've been seeing a whole bunch, like, because my Netflix is just like recommending a ton of shit that I never get around to watching. But I keep seeing all these foreign films that are horrors, and I'm like, these are fucking banging. Like I forget what it's called already, but the German one about the people on a plane. And the mother ends up being a werewolf.
I have not seen that one.
Oh my fucking god, it looks good. I have to watch it.
That sounds sick, dude.
Yeah, and then there's like a zombie movie that takes place in Japan in a school. I forget the name of that, but I'm like,
oh, is it One Cut of the Dead? They're making a zombie film, and zombies actually come out.
No.
Oh, well, that's a pretty good one.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. There's one that just came out in Taiwan called The Sadness. Have you heard of it?
No.
I talked about it a little bit on some of the other episodes, but I'll go through it real quick. It's just came out exclusively on Shudder. It's a big deal because it's not just a zombie movie. It's one of those movies where the virus actually affects your brain and it's turning people into like sadistic, raping torturing maniac. So they don't just bite you. They knock you to the ground, cut off your genitals, eat the blood out of the hole, and then then rip your baby out, and then take a shit on you, and then run, and then go on to the next.
How could we step this movie up a notch?
And then I mean, they don't show everything, but like it's one of those movies where it's like no one's safe. There's no taboo that's like unturned, and like it's a good movie. So I would check out The Sadness if you can.
Sadness. Whew.
Yeah. And it's like kind of funny too at times. But I mean, I thought Human Centipede and Serbian Film were funny, so don't take my word for it.
But even the most extreme, it fucks with you so much that it almost forces you to laugh at times.
Yeah.
You know, like you're like, oh my fucking God. Really?
Yeah, dude.
That's kind of what horror fans want to get out of it.
Uh-huh.
They don't really want to get scared, like, you know, when you're 5 and you see Evil Dead for the first time. You want to be like, oh my fucking God, like that was hilarious. You know?
Plus the feeling of like laughing your way through something that's supposed to be like scary and terrifying is like kind of empowering, I guess, to the audience in a way. So it kind of puts it back into their hands, I guess.
You get to own it a little bit.
So maybe that's what I'm doing. Maybe I'm like not really as courageous as I think, and I'm just trying to own it myself. But who knows? But yeah, man, I love fucked up horror movies. Any other horror movies that you've seen recently that you'd like to mention? I like to get into it with the artists.
I'm so fucking far behind that I haven't seen anything recently. I keep rewatching the same old shit. Like every year when Halloween comes around, I start, watching old stuff. Like I mentioned to you, like People Under the Stairs.
Oh yeah,
I love that fucking movie. Event Horizon, like that's one of my favorites.
People Under the Stairs. I think it was Mad Max was talking about how Tales from the Hood was a very important like socio-political movie. I feel like People Under the Stairs also is a really good socio-political movie, and that's a good double feature, I think.
For representation, you're talking about like you never usually see, anybody but suburban white people in horror films.
Yeah, and just like
where that came along,
how the two people are the landlords of the housing projects that those people are living in, and how at the end of the movie you have these people rising up against them and stuff. I thought it was a really cool glimmer of hope that really hasn't happened yet.
I mean, I think everybody can relate to that too. It's just like wanting to kill your fucking slumlord.
Oh yeah, dude.
I'm feeling that right now.
And they're the worst of the worst, because they were like taking people like captive under their house and stuff. Like they're like if Ariel Castro was a landlord or something. It's fucked up.
And you know what? That's actually one of the movies where, because my thing is, I can't really get invested in horror movies where if a bullet can kill the bad guy and it's over, like, it's not really that fucking scary to me. But something about that one, it was like, you could have just capped both those two fucking people and the movie would have been done. But there was this whole other seedy structure of bullshit attached to those people with the cannibalism and all this other stuff. Just made it different.
Yeah, and they were like just like the sexual edge to it.
Yeah, with the daughter and stuff, and just makes you feel really fucking uncomfortable,
Yeah, I remember seeing it on TV too, and I'm like, a gimp suit on TV? What the hell?
Right. Yeah, I remember too, like the first time, like because he talks about the N words, and as a kid, that fucking hit me in my stomach. I was like, I don't like hearing this on TV, but it's reality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
you only hear that shit at school, and like, now you're...
and all of a sudden it's in this movie, and it's like, damn, no, people do think like this. Yep. They talk like this, Reality is fucking scary sometimes, man. Yeah,
Wes Craven was really good at, like, making these things that were happening in real life they were scared of and like bringing them to reality, like everything from like Freddy Krueger and sleep paralysis to what would be another good example? You can just Hills of Eyes is very like kind of what Eli Roth does, making people afraid to leave their city or go on trips like into the wilderness. Last House on the Left is like, don't buy drugs from strangers. Like
it's very minimal, what Craven did. It didn't have to make it too complicated. It was just a basic primal thing that was going, and that reflected in his sound scores too. Like his scores were always just really basic but fuck with you.
Yeah,
on a core level, you know.
Yeah, he got a lot of good composers for his stuff, and it was so different from John Carpenter, which was just really basic synth. Where like if you were to compare like the Nightmare on Elm Street theme to the Halloween theme, it's like you can tell that Wes Craven's a little more commercial at that point.
Yeah, Carpenter was even more so minimal, even more so like fuck with you kind of for sure. Yeah. But I think that's what made that era great. It wasn't, trying to show what was going on. Sometimes leaving it out was fuck with you more.
Yeah, and I think like the DIY spirit of like the early Wes Craven, like Last House on the Left and stuff, almost made it look real. Like, because it was just it was low budget, but those movies, just like Hills of Eyes, Last House on the Left, those ones just really get under your skin. So,
yeah, man.
Yeah. Let's get back into your music though a little bit. I want to talk next about Drowning in Restricted Thought.
All right.
This album had a bit of a different sound from your previous work because it was kind of pop a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's still dark.
With singing. Yeah. It was the first time I really was like, you know what? I'm going to focus on the hook stuff first versus like everything else.
Yeah. Well, I just realized a song called Under the Stairs. Does that have anything to do with People Under the Stairs?
Kind of does. It was inspired by it a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Cool. Yeah, but every song on here is great, but like I said, they're different from each other, but it's like all different shades of like different pop songs. It kind of reminds me of
Shades of Grey.
There you go.
Right. Sorry.
Reminds me of With Teeth from
great record.
Yeah, especially Kingslayer. That beat is very reminiscent of With Teeth from Nine Inch Nails with the mid-tempo kind of bump.
Yeah, it was like a dance beat, right? At the core of it, it was like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That album was weird because it was the first time where I didn't have any beats when I started writing. Everything before that, it was like I would write to a beat. This time I'd be like in my kitchen making food, and all of a sudden, he's got a gun, he says, we all gotta go. It just came out. And I'm like, I don't need fucking beats to write catchy hooks. This is dope. So I started doing that after that.
That song was like on some 90s shit right there. That Police State song, like, I can't even think
of weird blues. It sounded like a blues joint.
Yeah. Something like my dad would listen to back in the 90s when he was trying to be current. Like Collective Soul or something.
Yeah. Jail.
Yeah. Hell yeah. That was a great album, man. And then moving on from that would be Finding X. That's your horror, kind of your more horror themed album.
Yeah.
So let's get into that. Do you want to talk about kind of the concept behind it?
Yeah. So I was like, it was one of those things where it goes back to, you're not really a horror artist, or I'm not really a horror artist, that whole thought. And I was like, well, why the fuck not? Why am I not? So I want to do this. I want to do a full-on horror record the way I think a horror record should be done. And I wanted to approach it as like psychological versus like, two things I wanted to avoid was saying the words blood or darkness. I intentionally avoided saying those two words on the whole record. And I was like, how can I make an actually disturbing record without having to talk about things in a very direct and blunt way? It's kind of beating around the bush about it, but the concept was basically talking about in the beginning, consciousness split off from itself, and there was all of us that split and split and split, became human, and the rest was one that refused to split and became the nothing. And the nothing was the darkness, the pride, and all the evil shit. So the whole thing kind of traverses through these different stories, how it attaches itself to whoever's talking in these songs. And it's like, when I tell people that, they're like, where the fuck? That's not even, I don't get any of that in that record. It was way too deep. I admit it. I remember I showed Rome Bone from Beneath the Dirt that record, and he goes, this is a great record, but you lost a lot of people on this one. It went over a lot of people's heads.
Huh.
I was like, okay, granted. All right. And And a friend of mine too was like, it's a dope record, but it gives me anxiety. I can't listen to it. Like I can't replay it.
What?
Like I'm done with that. Yeah.
No.
Really? All right. Cool.
No,
because,
absolutely not.
People have always told me like, yeah, it just kind of sets me on edge, which is good. That's dope. I want that. But
What I will say, when I come back to this album, Finding X, it doesn't have the hooks that the other albums have. Like it doesn't draw you back in like you, because with your other songs, especially we'll talk about Eat the Week in a second, but that's got multiple, I mean, those could be Grammy songs.
Dope.
Which the hooks are just very well written, professionally written, like commercial. They sounds very commercial in a good way.
Right. Accessible.
Where this is, I mean, the Nothing is a straight up horrorcore, glitchcore horrorcore track. And if you don't like stuff like Kung Fu Vampire or ICP, like that might not be for you. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, for sure.
But not the whole album sounds that way, but it's like it's hardcore shit. It's cool, and it's a horror record for sure.
Yeah.
You have a Johnny the Homicidal Maniac track on here. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. My nickname is Johnny, and that's where I got it from, was Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. As a matter of fact, I think I've got it right next to me. But anyways, in like the first couple pages, he introduces himself to Squee as Johnny C. So for a while, I was going by Johnny Cross or Johnny Crossworm, and it was based off of that. So okay. Johnny's Wall is the name of the song on that record, and it's all about him and why he does what he does. It's just to paint the wall with blood so that the demons don't come through it when it gets soft. That's the whole comic.
That's tight.
And eventually he fucking blows his own head off and goes to hell. Well, there's nobody back home to paint the fucking wall, so the demons come out. So that's the whole.
That's cool, man. That's cool.
It was like 2.5 minutes. I was in and out. Didn't resolve the song or anything. It was like, oh yeah. So here we are. There's demons and yeah.
What's the Red Queen about?
So the Red Queen, that's actually part 2. The first one was on my second record, Ready to Burn, but it's about my significant other starts turning into a zombie. And I don't know what to do about it, so I chain her in the basement.
Oh, okay.
And I'm in love with her. And then, so the second one on Finding X is all about, I come back to this place where I have her chained in the basement, thinking that I have a cure for it because I've become a werewolf. So I'm going to fucking bite her before she can fully turn, and it just goes to hell.
Damn, dude, that's cool as hell. You could make a movie about that.
That'd be pretty sick.
That would be a sick movie. I don't know why no one's done that yet.
I'm surprised they haven't, man. It'd be a fucking dope anime too. Shit.
Yeah, dude.
Wow.
Are there any other like movie or comic like concepts on that album, like based off of stuff that you can think of?
I'm not sure. I don't.
It seems like there is. Like when I was listening to it, I was like picking up shreds, and I'm like, is that from a movie or is that from?
Yeah.
And like, first off, what is Fright House?
Fright House, like, I was like, okay, well, if I'm gonna do this, then maybe I should have like a side label to put it on in case I love it and want to do more of it, and maybe start pulling horrorcore. So that's just a label that I kind of made up. Fright House.
Is that still gonna be in existence if something comes out that fits it?
Man, I just don't think it's, now that I opened Dirtcore, I don't know if it's necessary.
Yeah.
Because, like, look at the fucking team I got. And
J-Hex is like a horrorcore.
You know what I mean?
Like,
and yeah, Samson's
pretty much too, yeah.
He considers himself full-blown horrorcore, and like his new record is a horrorcore record. It's fucking gnarly.
I am really excited to hear about it. You guys are hyping it pretty hard, so I can't wait.
Oh, dude. I'm like, it's only been a month. Holy fuck. Like, the dude's insane.
And Samson's someone I want to get more into. I've only been able to find his music on YouTube, and it's like, it's difficult, but like I do like his music, so I'd like to have him on. I'd like to get all of you guys on here. Mumra says he wants to be on here, and I want him on here because I love his music. So yeah, we'll do it for sure. But you guys just released a track together, and that was some good shit. What was it called again?
Open Your Mind Up.
Open Your Mind Up. Yeah, which kind of has you guys going back and forth over one of your beats.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah. So that was actually something that I had been working on a couple years back from the Finding X era, and when me and him linked last month, I was like, I've got this joint that I don't know what to do with. Do you want to jump on it? So it was us just kind of getting our feet wet. It wasn't really supposed to be a full blown like single. That's kind of why it feels like a little abrupt. We get in and we get out, but it's a dark ass vibe.
No, it's a good one to have on a playlist though, for sure. Especially like a Dirtcore. I need to make a Dirtcore playlist. I've been making playlists for all of the artists. Like, I just got to make a Dirtcore one make that public for you guys. That'd be sick.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, we're looking forward to that too as we start releasing records for everybody on the label. Is just having those playlists. It's like, this is the new shit, because we could stick all our old stuff on a playlist and that'll tide people over. But from here on, is going to be something different. I'm really excited, man. Like, it's going to sound really, really different, really fucking dark.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, Samson, if you're listening, I can't wait to have you on the show if you're down. So Scary Nerd, what was that?
Scary Nerd, yet another fucking side project of mine. I got to stop with this shit, dude. Every once in a while I'm like, I don't want to do it as Crossworm. I'm going to because I love branding. I love making up names and logos and art and all this crazy
shit. Dude, the
shit.
picture is a jack-o'-lantern, pineapple.
You know what I mean?
With glasses on.
It's kind of mocking Halloween a little bit. It's like summertime Halloween, bro.
Yeah.
So it's just, Scary Nerd. But it's cool. Really just it's just Crossworm. And I did a cover of Mental Warp under that name.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
But I did have plans on doing a record under the Scary Nerd name back in the day, and I was going to call it Glitchcraft. But ultimately, those beats ended up becoming Eat the Week. So
okay. Which is, would you say is your best album?
It is, for sure.
Okay.
Hands down. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where we're at now in your discography, so let's get into it. Eat the Week 2020. I would say is your biggest album by far, sound wise, sonically.
Yeah.
It's I don't think that you have a stereo system that can bring out all the elements that you put into this. It's just such a rich album. Some of the tracks that I really, really love, Bag, which is like your single. It's got the music video. Yep. I get it stuck in my head pretty much every morning.
Nice.
So what are some other ones?
Like Them was a single. Like Them
is another one I really love. That one I feel like I could just play for anyone and that would get them into you. Because that's like more heavy, glitchy kind of stuff. Yeah. The music video for that was crazy too. Like you're in the bathtub and like what made you do all that shit? Was it just random?
That one was the only one that wasn't planned out. I've only done 3 videos. The other 2 were pretty planned out. But that one, I was like, okay, I have a location. I have a couple props. Let's just go shoot something and see how fucking weird I can be. So I bought some bath bombs and fucking flooded the tub with it. And I'm like playing with action figures.
It kind of looks like there's diarrhea in the tub, honestly, but...
Well, the pants I was wearing were so fucking dirty.
Yeah.
And then I looked after. I'm like, oh, this is gross, bro.
No, but that's
Made
good.
It better.
That's
Made
good.
It better.
Dirtcore, man. Like.
Yeah. Can't be clean core.
No, I thought the video really fit the vibe for like, because I'm getting into Crossworm. I'm hearing words like Dirtcore, Crossworm, stuff, Parasite, and then I see that video. I'm like, this really like makes sense to that vision.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then the other 2 videos, Bag is cool. You had the girl tied up, and like there's kind of like a heist what do you call it? A negotiator situation kind of going on.
So there's actually an interesting story behind that video, and I tried to explain this online, but it didn't really get across. But the girl in the video represents Dirtcore. So I'm holding Dirtcore ransom.
Oh, I kind of think I did pick up on that.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the guy in the mask who's coming to get it is a label.
Okay.
So it's like
there was something in my head that registered that, and I don't know if I'm just like playing you right now or if I actually had that, but
I did put it out there. I really tried to get people to understand what it was back in the day. So maybe it did kind of, but yeah. So the whole thing was like, The point was I'll fucking destroy my own legacy before I let anybody else take it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not afraid to do it. And that was kind of like, because at the time I was trying to shop Eat the Week to some labels. But at the same time, I'm shooting myself in the fucking dick every single time I try that, because I make it known that I'm a fucking liability.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody's going to sign a liability.
Yeah.
Literally in that video, I'm saying I don't care what a contract says.
Yeah. Yeah. So. Well, I mean, you do things your own way, and it's worked so far. And really, what would a big label do for you at this point? Like,
the only reason I need a label is for the money, so that I can pay for some actual promotion. Yeah,
and I would say that's the only thing you need is that promo, that
real
push,
promo. Yeah.
And then, like we were saying before the show, more content. I think like video content would be awesome. I'd like to see some more videos, but also maybe just some like in real life stuff of you, like just kind of figure out what you do in your studio and like how you work with your artists and stuff. Like maybe like a mini Crossworm documentary would be cool.
That would be fun. That would be the easiest. I think I'm still trying to figure out what my way is going to be when it comes to video content and stuff. Like, I keep thinking like on TikTok, what do I want to do? Do I want to be a fucking gimmick guy, or do I want to just, you know, like you said, get on there and document what I do, what I actually do, because I do a lot of shit.
You could do a little bit of both, because that's kind of who you are. I mean, people know you have a humorous side, but people also know that you have like a serious down to business kind of side. And like, I think there are artists that are able to do both. Like you could think about like maybe Twisted or something. Like they're always, or ICP, they're always in the studio in their videos, or they're out doing shit, you know? And,
right.
Yeah, someone like you that owns a label, I could definitely see you go either way any way you want to.
Well, I'm gonna figure it out. I'm bound to determine. Like, I've invested quite a bit in different tools to be able to do it. It's like I know I'm headed in that direction, but what do I want to do is where I'm stuck at right now. So,
the Nothing remix on Eat the Week is so fucking good.
It's big.
When I first started it, I'm like, I don't know if I'm digging this more than the original, but then I just started nodding my head to it, and I'm like, man, this actually, you could hold this up to the original, like.
And it's like that old kind of chugging 90s industrial.
It reminded me more of industrial music than the original one did. The original reminded me more of horrorcore, where this one reminded me of like a Perfect Drug or something like that.
And I'll be honest, man, like in my soul, in my core, it is that heavy industrial sound. You know, that's what comes most naturally to me, rather than trying to force anything else. So I think that's why Eat the Week sounded so big and so well, because I wasn't trying to be anything else. I was like, fuck all the names of all the other genres, whatever. I'm just gonna do songs that I really, really want to fucking hear. And that's what came out.
Oh, you did it right. It's one of those albums that plays, you could just play it all the way through without stopping. There's no skippers on there. It's really good.
That's good to hear, man.
Snuff Out the Light, was that on the Spotify version?
I'll tell you what, the Spotify version fucked me, because I had released a couple of songs beforehand as singles. DistroKid wouldn't let me put it all on one album, so I had to call it the expanded version on my Bandcamp. But no, it wasn't. I don't think it was on the Spotify version. Okay,
I was wondering about that, because I listened to Spotify version many times, and today I finally got around to the Bandcamp version. I was like, oh, this isn't just a single. This is actually on the album.
Yeah.
And that's one of your like greatest tracks of all time, I'd say.
It's like anxiety, you know, like
very dark,
like grit. Like I think I was gritting my teeth through most of that record. Like
it makes me want to play Quake or something, like or like some old Doom or something.
Yeah, man, for sure, absolutely.
Yeah. And then so are those the only two tracks, the Nothing remix and Snuff Out the Light, that are on the Bandcamp version, or is there anything else you can think of that's different?
Big Pink.
Okay.
Big Pink I had released under yet another fucking alias side project, and I had called them I'm gonna laugh. The name of the project was Butt Fuck Soup. Don't ask me why I do these things, man. I'm just stupid. And then like a month later, I'll be like, okay, I got that out of my system. I'm just going to call it Crossworm now. But I had already released it through DistroKid, so they wouldn't let me do it again. That was another one of those songs where I'm like, are you kidding me? So Big Pink is, and it sounds like Bile, like old school 90s industrial. And it's about the
Bile.
government. Yeah, I loved them growing up, man. I used to love Bile.
They were on Mortal Kombat. That's what turned me on to them.
Yeah, I think it was Strangeland I got into them because they had a random...
That's a good soundtrack, too. Or it was.
Yeah, well, they were in the movie, too. Random.
Oh, they were?
Quick. He walks into, like, a club, and the singer from Bile's peeling his fucking... off.
Yeah.
That's Bile, dude.
Dude.
So I was, like, 17, first saw that, and I was like, please, I'm going to go buy this right now.
Oh, yeah.
So
you worked with Cannibalistic. That was an older track, though. What did that come out? The Born Again song?
That was October of 2009, I believe. Okay. He's actually a personal friend of mine. We're from like the same town. He's like a half hour away from me.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. We kind of, but we started off early as like enemies for some reason because people between us, we hadn't met, but people between us were saying, oh, he's talking shit and this and that. And then finally I met him. He used to be the guy in the Windsor, Detroit area that used to throw all these horrorcore shows. So I finally went out to one, and then like he had one of his sisters like summon me. You know, he was like, my brother wants to talk to you, right? One of those things. I'm like, fuck, I'm going to have to scrap this guy. He's going to beat the shit out of me because he's way bigger. Then I met him, and we were cool ever since. And then it was like we were drinking beers and talking about music and all this other shit. And then eventually we did that tune.
Dude, that's a good song. Like, it's great to see you teaming up with like you've teamed up with horrorcore dudes before, like Loki and stuff. But it's great to see you team up with like the OG fucked up horrorcore dudes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
because his shit, like
he was on KGP's label, so like
yeah. Did he put out Blasphemy on that label?
Yeah, I think so. Mortal Gore.
What a good fucking record that is, man. I still go back and listen to it. I'm like, and he's so hard to get a hold of. I still can't get a hold of this fucking guy. I grew up a half hour away from him, but I'm like, he's another dude where I'd be like, you got to get on Dirtcore.
Yeah.
You know, like it'd be massive. He would sound.
Dude, that'd be sick.
His beats. Oh, like because his beats, like the writing was good, but his tools were not at the level they should have been. Like his VSTs weren't that good. You know.
Yeah.
If I could sit with him and be like, you just send me the MIDI files after you're done producing it, and I'll just beef everything up. We'll do a record. And if for some reason he sees this, Derek, get a hold of me, you fuck.
You just dead named him.
I dead named his ass. Get a hold of me, man. We need to do a record.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. That's a great track. If listeners head over to Crossworm's Bandcamp and check that out. I don't think it's on your Spotify or anything, but
as a matter of fact, I remastered it and it is up on Spotify.
Okay, cool. Yes, yeah. Born Again featuring Cannibalistic. That's like one of my favorite tracks. Another single that I really like is Save My Soul, which would that be Crossworm or would that be more of a Dear Dangerous track?
No, that's actually a Crossworm tune, but it's funny you said that because the singer from Dear Dangerous wanted it to be a Dear Dangerous song.
Okay, I was wondering.
He heard it and he was like, "Please let me like," and then he ended up playing guitar on that track.
Okay,
so that's weird that you picked that up, but I mean, I guess like, what's my circle of people?
Yeah, it just sounded similar because it was going just more into like the other styles that you had. I mean, and then there was a few other things we didn't even talk about, like there's Jaws.
Jaws, yeah. See, that was the first time I ever just like pulled a name out of my ass and wrote a record.
And was that rock? That was your rock album?
No, that was like.
I'm thinking of something else then.
Dude, I swear it's literally just Crossworm.
I'm thinking of Blister.
Name. Blister was me and Renegade.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay. So you're making my mind spin right now.
So sorry. I got to stop doing this. I promise I'll stop doing this side project.
You're just like I'm just starting to freeze up like an old computer right now. Like too much info.
I do it to myself. But now, like if you look it up on like Spotify, I think it's listed as Crossworm. I don't think it's Jaws.
Okay.
But the name of the album was Deciduous.
That's a cool album. I like that. I can't remember any like standout tracks from it, but like I was just driving and bumping it. It was a sunny day. It's good sunny day music.
Yeah.
But yeah. That's the cool thing about you is like, even though a lot of your shit's dark, like some of it like has a lighter side to it, you know?
Yeah, like a lot of the music feels like you could ignore the lyrics and like just bop to it.
Yeah.
You know?
But like when it comes to horror, like in the lyrics, I think it can be found throughout your discography, and it's very similar to. Sorry to keep comparing you to Trent Reznor, Nine Inch Nails. I think a lot of people pull the industrial card with you, and I can see how that would get old after a while, and then also like bringing up Trent Reznor every single time, like to compare
it's
you.
One of those things, dude, where I'm like, I can't deny it because back in the day, he was one of my favorite artists.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if I want to be a dick about it, I could be like, well, you know, someone who only eats spaghetti is going to think that homemade fettuccine tastes like spaghetti.
Yeah.
I could be a snob about it if I want to, but why do that?
Yeah.
But the thing is, I think most people hear the Nine Inch Nails thing because it's like when you overdrive a synth, how many different sounds are you gonna get out of it that don't sound like Nine Inch Nails, you know?
Yep.
They're the biggest band that ever fucking did it. So and they're dope. So I'll take it. I'll take it
you definitely did a lot of like the
the chugging, analog, for sure. I love it. I just love that sound, and you know, it's not for everybody. A lot of the East Coast cats that love their boom bap have never really dug my beats like that.
I could see that.
But there's actually a couple joints on Samson's new record that are an exact cross between like Dirtcore and boom bap, and it's crazy.
Cool.
So
I mean, I can't remember what song it is, but I remember there being a boom bap track somewhere in your discography, and I was kind of like, oh, this is different for Crossworm. But usually a lot of your stuff is just your production. You can tell it's a Crossworm track. You can tell. Sure. I mean, even when you remixed Creatures of the Night with Tech Nine, Mars, and Twisted.
You hear that right away, you're like,
that's Crossworm.
Crossworm synth. Yeah.
Exactly. Sure. What kind of music inspires you now, but also what inspired you in the beginning? We already talked about Trent Reznor, Stabbing Westward. Is there anything else in the industrial? Honestly, a lot of people in the industrial scene would not consider Trent Reznor or Stabbing Westward industrial.
Not at all.
In fact, they're like laughing stock.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
To us, they're cool. I mean, because I'm not a gatekeeper. I'm not pretentious.
Right.
Like I like pop. I like everything. So,
but I'll tell you what, my people, the industrial and the goths, I call them my people, but they're the biggest fucking gatekeepers I've ever been a part of, man. But the thing with industrial for me is I always loved its potential more than what it put out. More like, oh man, there's elements of these songs that are so fucking dope, but I don't like the whole song, you know?
Yeah. That's how I feel about Skinny Puppy. I feel like they have some really good songs, some really good tracks, but it's kind of hard to listen to an album all the way through because it's so experimental. That it's not going to have a lot of hooks. It's like a Trent Reznor would.
Sure.
Or there's other industrial that's kind of like on the pop side, like My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult, or it's not pop, but like it has more like structure to it.
But I'll tell you what, man, I truly think that the nu metal thing that happened in the late 90s, that was really just pop industrial.
A lot of it, like when it came to Orgy and
even
Static X.
Like
even Korn went into it around Issues. They started using a lot more programming.
That was in Circus Magazine, was like,
I loved Circus Magazine.
Yeah,
that's a huge influence actually for the show. Is when I was a kid, I'd read Circus Magazine because I would want to get into the minds of these people because I was like, how are people doing this? Like I'd see Coal Chamber and I'd be like, why is it? What made them go that direction in their life? And so that's what made me want to do the show. Sorry to get into that, but I'm really glad you brought up Circus Magazine.
That's great, yeah, because like at that time period, it was fucking better than Rolling Stone, dude. Like, Rolling Stone, give me a fucking break. Even Spin.
It felt like a zine too, because it was like printed black and white. It was stapled together. It was very homemade. Like I wish I still had my Circus magazines. But
man, I can't even believe I got a hold of it in the small town I'm from. Like my hometown's like 10,000 people, surrounded by 15 miles of cornfields. Yeah. So how the fuck I got Circus Magazine out there, I don't know, but.
Actually, I found it in the boonies before too. Actually, it's kind of weird. Yeah. They had some. Nice. They must have had some good marketing or some good distribution.
They gave it away free with like Coca-Cola or something. You know, I don't know.
So you were pretty into. Were you into the nu metal stuff in the '90s?
I was, but before that, what actually got me into tunes was the grunge thing. Grunge pop. Like I think the first cassette I ever bought was actually Guns N' Roses' "Use Your Illusion," but that same year was when Nevermind came out, and there was a Soundgarden record came out, And then it was like I started listening to all that shit, and I was like, this is my shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's like middle school, everybody finds their shit. I was in middle school for grunge, so I was like, this is my world. I want to start doing music. I want to start playing. Picked up the drums, and I used to borrow like the school's drum set for the summer. And I was
nice.
poor as fuck.
That's cool. They let you do that, though. I mean, that's a big deal.
I had a natural ability, a natural talent for it, so they wanted to push it on me so that I was prepared for the next year.
Nice.
And I was like, yeah, I'll take it. Cool. And then I was like trying to play fucking Pantera in the garage instead of rudiments and shit like that. Like, so that's how I started. And then it was new metal in my late teens, the end of high school and shit. And then I don't know, man. After the year 2000, it feels like everything died and everybody was trying to figure out what was cool, playing double dutch, trying to, like, dudes were still trying to do dad rock. Even Dear Dangerous came out and fucking, we were doing our thing in 2005 through 2010, and it was, really, really good, but the industry had already treated that genre like a late pass.
Yeah.
So, and then metalcore and emo was coming out 2010, around that era and shit.
Yeah, but alternative was dead at that point.
It was dead.
Yeah.
Dead. So, experiment time. And
were you ever into hardcore, metal, any of the more like aggressive extreme styles?
For a while I was into some shit, like Johnny Truant, and fucking like early progressive like hardcore shit. Back when it was like, oh my god, I can't believe every single instrument's going crazy.
Like Converge? Have you ever heard Converge?
Yeah. And I mean,
kind of like mathcore influenced, mathcore influenced hardcore.
Definitely. But one of my favorite metal bands is Strapping Young Lad.
Oh yeah.
Like, I love chaotic fucking heavy metal shit.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't listen to it too much anymore.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, most of the shit that I actually listen to is like dark wave, post punk, goth type shit.
Do you like Sisters of Mercy?
I like a couple of their tunes, but my taste in goth music doesn't go that far back. And I've been to a couple fucking Bauhaus shows and stuff, but to me, they're like surf rock. I don't know how they became the fathers of like goth.
Yeah, I could see
songs that are dark. They've got the fucking Bela Lugosi's Dead and She's in Parties. And really, I'm like, there's a lot of other groups that could probably take the reins on goth from that. But hey, I'm not going to take it away. Peter Murphy's a fucking genius. His solo stuff bangs. I like a lot of dark shit like that. Like anything that sounds like Depeche Mode and synth pop and stuff.
My first show ever was Depeche Mode and Stabbing Westward.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah, it was I think they were playing Ultra. It was Ultra Tour. Stabbing Westward was doing the I Cannot Save You tour.
Yeah. Holy shit.
That was cool. I was probably 5th grade. My parents took us, but they, my parents liked Depeche Mode, but like it was just crazy because you're a kid, but you're at a big concert with like all these adults around you. It's like, fuck, man, this is cool.
And it's like, I don't even understand how dope this is, but I will later in life.
No, I did. You
were like so into it.
We were the ones that chose. Depeche Mode was my brother's favorite band, and Stabbing Westward was one of my favorite bands. So like, it was the perfect first show.
I'm fucking jealous right now of that. That's a bill. That's a line.
Hey, I'm jealous because I was young, so I barely remember it. But
right.
I don't remember anything from 5th grade, but I do remember David Gahan doing his dance up there. Awesome. Yeah. So that was cool. But yeah, those influences for me, Trent Reznor, Depeche Mode, Stabbing Westward, all that kind of stuff is I think what's helping me connect to you so hard now, to your music now. I really hope that there's more people that like me that had those influences that are able to find your music, because I think some people could just really get hooked because that was big in the 90s.
But I'll tell you what's been so difficult about that over the years, man, is especially before coming up with the term Dirtcore, I was using industrial hip-hop. Mm-hmm. Well, Generation X didn't like their cultures mixed. See what I'm saying? And the Goths did not want hip-hop in their fucking music. And the labels are still like that. One of the songs on Eat the Week, I talk about that, where I go right for a label guy's throat.
Mm-hmm.
Name his name, but it's actually about somebody who was basically saying, like, don't do black music on industrial. He was racist to me. But that's the reason why it's been so hard to push. Now it's changing. Now you can't fucking be that way. So I think that Dirtcore has more of a future. I can start promoting to these people that actually like synth pop, Depeche Mode, the dark stuff, and not be like, you're rapping.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I think it's cool because with this show, we started off on an extreme horror network, and we were trying to my goal was to get people that liked extreme horror to start listening to darker hip hop music, because honestly, it's like the poetic version of a horror movie. So yeah. I'm trying to get people make that connection, but I feel like that would be cool to do with like also the industrial people with your music. You know what I mean? Like bridge that gap. You know? Yeah, man, it really does need to happen. And the thing that I've also noticed is any other artists that have been out there that call themselves industrial hip hop, they're not blending it well enough. It just sounds like a dude that likes industrial who decided that rapping is easy. You know, like it's not a real blend. Sometimes I tell people, I'm like, you know, you can take red and blue and mix them together and get purple. But some people are just born purple. How would you mix it? How would you say Death Grips does on mixing it? Whether you're a fan or not. I haven't heard too much Death Grips to be able to tell. But to me, that just seemed like really, really experimental, experimental music. I feel like for me, I never understood it enough for it to lock into one thing or the other. I didn't even know they were trying to mix the two until you just brought them up. Yeah. Like, oh, this is crazy. This is what that is. They do it at times. They fuck with some glitch hop. They fuck with some industrial. They fuck with some punk. Like, they throw everything in. And it is a little experimental. It is kind of like Skinny Puppy, where it's hard for me to listen to a full album, but they do have some fucking bangers. Like, I'll send you a couple tracks, and I was like, damn. But yeah, there's another group, like Horror was another one with the nines. Horror spelled with nines. They're another one that I think they kind of blend that style, but at the same time, it doesn't feel as genuine as like your stuff, where it like feels like your stuff comes straight from it, where that stuff feels more derivative, I would say. Right. See, and that's the one thing. It's like I tread carefully because I really don't want to sound cocky, but at the same time, I'm like, there's a big fucking difference between what I'm trying to do and what others are actually doing. I guess that's, God, I fucking get sick of myself just saying that out loud. But yeah, no, I do feel like I fucking have a more realistic blend than anybody else. But wouldn't you rather hear an artist saying that than saying nothing and just sounding like everyone else? Right. Yeah. So, and there's too much of that right now. So I welcome any talk like that. I think people need to strive to sound different and go outside the box. Right now, we have such a huge problem with everything sounding the same. And that's the kind of the reason why I decided to finally open up Dirtcore too, was to nurture these other blends that are out there, because there are some that are missing the mark, where it's like karaoke. It's somebody with distortion on their vocals over rap beats, and it's like, that's not industrial hip hop. If you want to do it, I can teach you how to do it. We can be an example. We can make this, and then the content can be whatever you want. It can be punk. It can be brutal horrorcore. But as long as the elements are still there properly and the quality's in check, then we can move forward. You can go your own way, do what you need to do. You know. So, what are some of your favorite horrorcore artists? So, the majority of my listening was from back in the day in the 90s. Like, I remember. Like HOK, the early shit was some of my favorite stuff. I still bump. LU Cypher was dope. I used to fucking love them so much, dude. Like the minimalism, the grimy, plus, you know, I love analog synth and analog drums and shit. And they're just like grind. Like, I think the album's called Mental Health or something. Mental Health. I can't remember. It's so good. It's got worm food on it and shit. It's good. One of my favorites was actually Hex's solo, Gates of Hell. Gates of Hell. Oh, fucking the title track on that is so dope. I gotta figure out what this is called, what this album's called. It was like, I still listen to it too, so I should know it. But let's see. Yeah, Mental Health. But health is spelled like hell. Oh, yeah. Dude, that album's fucking sick.
Just
Worm Feed.
Shit.
Worm Feed, that's my song there, right there.
Worm Feed.
Yeah. The whole thing just sounds like you're in a Silent Hill world or something. It's fucking cool.
Love it. Love it. I mean, and then there's also newer guys that have come out of nowhere that I'm digging, you know, like Salem alumni.
Mm-hmm.
But even like, it's weird because I'm sitting there listening to Ouija Max shit, and I'm like, I don't know if it's horrorcore, but it's new and it's weird, and I dig that. There's across the spectrum, there's always somebody that comes out that completely blows my mind, and I'm like, this is dope because it's not the same old shit anymore. You know, because back in the day, people tried to mimic what Mad Insanity was doing, what Comatose was doing, what KGP was doing. Just like in the mainstream, when you've got 25 derivatives of fucking Drake or whatever.
50 Cent.
Yeah, I mean, fucking Eminem. Pick somebody, right?
Everyone was just copying whatever was popular at the time. Still happens.
Right. But I mean, obviously, too, like a lot of my dudes are my favorite horrorcore guys.
That's
like,
what's cool about Dirtcore, man. Like, you got these artists that are just left field. Like, nothing. They're not like anything. I
did not mean to sign a bunch of horrorcore guys either. I thought, I was just like, I want to work with these guys and make some records.
Would you consider Mumra horrorcore, though?
Yes, and I had the conversation the other day, finally, with him. We were talking on the phone. I was like, check this out. I figured you out. I figured how you are horrorcore. You're conscious horrorcore. If you think of him that way, tell me he's not.
Kind of like the second Gravediggers album.
Right. That's exactly what he said. He was like, yeah, like the fucking Gravediggers record.
Yeah, the second one, though. Like when they were more on that 5%er stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's where Mum Ra comes from. He studied a lot of 5%er shit, 5% Nation stuff. So that's why he talks about knowledge and wisdom and all this other stuff. But it's dark because you could listen to some East Coast boom bap shit and they'll be talking about the same stuff, but it doesn't sound like that. It doesn't sound dark like that.
No, Mum Ra reminds me of the Wu-Tang affiliates that were coming out around like the late 90s, like Sons of Man and Kill Army and all that stuff. So like, yeah, it reminds me a lot more of that than it does remind me of like conscious rap, you know?
Right, for sure.
Because like that stuff did, like Gravediggers, Sons of Man, all that stuff, they delve into horrorcore, murder rap sometimes too. So it wasn't like you weren't just getting like, you know, conscious rap. So that's cool. Right. Now that you say it that way, yeah, I can think of him more of like a Gravediggers.
See what I mean? Because it's like, I kept trying to figure it out. I'm like, how is he the only one that's not horrorcore? Well, he is, you know. But it's just weird because, like I said, when I first started, I'm like, we're just gonna do records. But I sat back and looked at him, and as soon as I started talking to Samson, he's talking about horrorcore, and I'm like, I didn't even know you were a horrorcore artist. I was just like, you're dope. And then it was like, obviously, JX is, you know, mega horrorcore. Max to me is always been fucking horrorcore.
Yeah, Max is like 80% horrorcore. The rest of it's like...
You remember he talked about Violent Crimes with No Explanations?
Yeah.
That was the tune that got me hooked on him.
Yes.
And I was like, I still have I just found the fucking session file from back in 2000. I still have it. I might just open it back up and like remaster that joint just to make it bigger and louder or whatever.
That'd be sick. I love the Dogs of War track you guys did too. That's a really, it's laid back but it's aggressive at the same time. It's really just fucking banger.
That joint was crazy because we were like, okay, we'll do this tune together. We both came back with the same line for the hook. We wrote the same fucking shit. It's like, because I wanted to sing it so that, because the beat was like I wanted to be like, make way for the Dogs of War. But he came back and he had screamed it.
Oh, okay.
Like, that's dope. That was the line.
So wait, was that his screams?
That was my screams, but it was him like saying the actual vocals. Make way for the Dogs of War. Yeah.
Cool.
And then I was like, yeah, root, doing the fucking DMX shit.
I love it, man.
But yeah, that was a good
great track. And was that for Devil's Night?
Maybe I put it on Devil's Night, but after Mouthful of Dirt, I was just doing a bunch of singles. I was going to do an album called Mouthful of Dirt 2.0. I was going to turn it into an LP, and then I scrapped that, and I was going to do a record called Gut Rot. So Mouthful of Dirt, Gut Rot, kind of like A and B type of thing. So I was gathering tracks to put on that record, and the other one the other collab was Play That Shit with J-Hax. So both those two were going to be on this record. But I lost the sessions, and that whole record went in the trash.
Also, what's that song you did with it's Menacide, Gruesome, and someone else? I can't remember. Fucking awesome, though.
Were we all on that record together?
I can't remember.
Maybe I just mixed it and produced it, but he did one called This Is Horrorcore.
I think it was a Gruesome track with Menacide on it.
They did a couple of those. I might have mixed it.
Yeah, I'm going to it right now.
And if it was on Devil's Night, I probably mixed it because I started doing that after I took it over.
I don't know. I've been listening to so much of it, man.
Oh, yeah.
Damn, I don't know. What about Jaws Full of Dirt? Is that a EP or what? That album, Jaws Full of Dirt?
Now I'm trying to remember. Jaws Full of Dirt.
I just see the picture of you is like you got the mask on. Yeah, it's a drawing of you like.
I think that was like a hits record, like a bunch of loose singles that I had never put on a record. And
I see Shades of Grays on it. Hope You Fail.
Yeah. So that's a hits thing.
Oh, okay. I was kind of wondering about that, if that was something that I like missed, like if I missed out on. But it sounds like it's kind of just more stuff. How many Devil's Nights did you do?
Well, what people don't know is I actually started in 2007.
Oh, damn.
I took it over in 2009, but Menacide already had me helping him in 2007, told me to keep it under wraps. And then 2008, I picked the entire track list on that one, and he didn't tell anybody. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, so I did 6 of them.
Damn.
12 was a hard copy.
Is your name even on any of them, or were you doing it kind of secret? Because I didn't know.
It says Crossworm Presents right at the top.
Okay. Oh.
Crossworm and the Wicked Underground. I made sure.
That always just went right over my head, I guess.
I think I did the artwork for all of them, too, in some way, shape, or form. Put them together.
Nice. That's a cool little piece of history to have under your belt, though.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to say you're not horrorcore, like they can just go back to that. They could go back to your horrorcore.com days. They could go back to so much different
1998 with like Two Corpse, dude. That stuff was horrorcore. I mean, I was a little more punk than the other guy, but yeah, we were literally, our gimmick was we were zombies. So,
what was the most nostalgic era of your career?
Nostalgic. I mean, for me, I think it's probably always going to revert back to like. I would say 2007 through 2010, just when I was double dipping. I was doing the Dear Dangerous shit in LA, and I was doing the Crossworm stuff, and like really doing Devil's Night heavily. There was a lot of irons in the fire at that time. And I think when I look back, like in 2007, I was a stagehand on Ozfest and Warped Tour on a second stage act. So I was doing like industry shit. And then I was doing design stuff for Live Nation, House of Blues. So I had all this shit going on all at once.
That's incredible.
And I always go back to, like, oh, that was a sweet time. Meanwhile, I was running myself ragged, but that's always the best time, you know?
Are you still doing the graphic design, or is there not enough time for it?
Every day.
Oh, wow.
Every day I design something. I have since the late 90s. It's just something that I do no matter what's going on. Yeah. I think that's why I come up with so many damn side projects. I like come up with the art first. I'm like, this is a sick logo. You know, the band doesn't exist. Does now. You know what I mean?
It's like exploitation movies where they'd make a cool poster and they're like, well, guess we got to get a
we got to make that movie now.
VHS camera out. Let's film it in our backyard now. Cool ass poster, but
fucking can't help myself, man. Yeah. I'm a sucker for it.
That's cool, man. It's cool that you have this drive, though. Do you ever lose the drive? Do you ever burn out?
Sometimes, but comparatively to other people, not really.
Yeah.
You know, like what I consider myself burning out is still, you know, fourth gear for a lot of people.
Well, you kind of mentioned to me that there are times that you retreat. You leave the spotlight, the limelight, or whatever you want to call it, and you just kind of go off on your own for a while. Would those be burnout times, or would that be more just like you going to collect yourself and just like working on your own? Is that part of your process?
Well, I think anytime I do disappear, I disappear into one of these other projects. Like last year when I did Animal, like I disappeared from the scene entirely because I was dipping into synthwave and, you know, goth stuff and promoting over in those places. So I don't think I ever really burn out. I change where I put my energy, you know. like maybe I get sick of music, but all of a sudden now I'm gonna do a graphic novel or something. It's like my energy's always at max. It never dies down.
Wow.
I suffer from hyperfixation, so that's why. Really. Yeah. It's like I get into something and I can't stop. I can't stop myself. I have to, like, I took up brewing as a hobby in 2017.
Oh, cool.
And I was just knew everything about it, and like I had a business plan and I was going to go to college for it. I do too much, man. I gotta chill.
So yeah, and I find that fascinating because we were also talking about rheumatoid arthritis, which is something that I deal with. Is something that you deal with. Yeah. Do you find that ever holds you back from your work?
It hasn't before, but now, like, you just look at my hands, you're like, yeah, he's got arthritis. But I'm a drummer, and I've finally gotten my dream kit, my dream setup. I wanted to get on TikTok and IG and start doing drumming videos, like playing over my beats and like crazy shit like that. And now I wake up and my fucking hands are killing me just right off the bat. And I'm like sitting here thinking, like, how am I going to do this? I'm just going to do it. That's the answer. I'm just going to do it in pain. Do things scared, do things in pain. But I haven't gotten around to that yet because I started a record label. So now I'm busy again. Yeah. Sometimes, in the future, it's going to be a problem. But right now, it's not a problem.
Yeah, it's one thing that a lot of people don't realize is when you have something like that, it's a chronic illness that you deal with every single day. Yeah. You're fighting that on top of everything else that you're going through in your life. And people just, I think, don't get enough credit for a lot of people have things, whether it's chronic illness, mental health, or whatever. To be able to fight through that shit and keep your drive going, I think that's something that's very admirable. And I think
I appreciate
you
it,
don't
man.
get it. You and anyone else that's going through that kind of stuff don't get enough credit for that.
And the mental health thing too is that's not something I suffer from, and I'm very, very blessed because when I see my friends and family that are suffering from that, I don't know how to help them, man. And it makes you feel powerless because it's like, man, I bet you there's an answer for this, but there's no answer for this. Sometimes people just have to eat it. They have to eat their pain, and it sucks to watch.
A lot of the answer is within themselves because I've tried so hard to help so many people, and the only people I've ever seen get help are the ones that finally took it upon themselves to make it their responsibility rather than take responsibility over themselves, whether that's going to physical therapy or mental therapy or whatever. But that's something, I mean, if people are listening and you're struggling right now, and I know a lot of you guys are because I see you on Facebook whining more than you are posting about your art, which is sad. And I'm not looking down on anyone for doing that because it happens, but like I think it's just something that people need to take responsibility and like maybe take that first step you can, because you can't just let something like constantly control you. I deal with that shit too, but like I'm doing this show, you know what I mean? I push through and you gotta.
For me, it's like you gotta figure out what you love and love it till it hurts, because that love for what you want to do is gonna kind of keep your mind busy from all that, from worrying about a lot of the anguish.
Oops.
For me, the
Oh, you ducked out for a second. What was that again?
Oh, did I?
Yeah. No worries.
I was basically saying like the physical pain of it aspect is like I have shit to do, so I have to remember that there's something that I really love. And one thing I've noticed is once you're actually doing it, it's not as hard as like when you're in pain and you're about to do it. Because usually you're just dreading doing what you're doing because it hurts so bad. But once you get into your process, it kind of blocks out the pain signals a little bit. Anticipation will stop you every time. It's anxiety, right? Anxiety is worrying about what hasn't happened yet. Depression is worrying about shit that already happened. And then anxiety and depression is just going to increase the inflammation. And just gonna just cause that cycle. So that's why I'm just recommending people take a step forward and just making things a little bit easier on yourself. Because I know a lot of people are having a hard time right now. If I fucking had any answers, man, I would gladly, but the only thing that I can really think of is like, just find something to occupy your mind, because your mind is too idle. Yeah. But like, what do I know? Even still, it's like, I don't fucking know what the individual's going through. I just hope that people figure it out.
one thing I see a lot of is like rappers that are like miserable on a daily basis and they're having trouble writing and stuff like that. And I'm just wondering if like some people like ever even get the thought that like maybe rapping isn't for you. Maybe that this is something that's been holding you back that you're forcing yourself to do when maybe this whole time you were a filmmaker, maybe making rap videos, making videos for rap people, maybe doing lighting is what you're into. Like, you know what I mean?
And everybody needs that shit too, like management. Maybe you're a great manager. There's a million fucking artists that need great managers.
We don't need a million MCs. We need a Dirtcore merch guy. We need we need someone
promoter, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, we need a TikTok guy for you guys so that can like make your like daily social media shit. So there's like a lot of stuff out there for people in the scene. I'm sure like there's shit on HorrorCorridor that I need help with. So it's like, yeah, don't like think that you have to be a rapper or a beat maker. There's like so much more out there.
Yeah, because it's also like, what you want to do is not always like, okay, so somebody said to me about drums one time. I was like 13 years old, and he said to me, he's like, do you want to own drums? Do you want to play drums? Or do you want to be a drummer? You got to figure it out. And I was like 12, 13 years old, and I was like, I want to be a drummer. He goes, that's the first step. You got to know what you want to do. You got to know what you want to be. Now, are you good enough to do that? Is it making you miserable? If it's making you miserable, don't fucking do it.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Well, why would you do that? For what?
I've been in bands that make me miserable, and when I quit those bands, walking out of it was like walking away from the last day of school. You're just like, oh, thank God.
Fucking vibe check, man.
So like if you're like stuck in a rap career, it's not working out for you, maybe just take a step away. Maybe you might be but I'm not talking about anyone specific. I'm just saying there's a lot of people, and then like the same goes for filmmaking. There's people that have like made 5 indie films and haven't made a single dollar, and they're miserable, and it's like, maybe filmmaking like isn't something you should be doing as a career. That's just making you miserable, you know. Maybe you did the part already that you wanted to do, you know. Exactly. You scratched the itch. Stop fucking scratching the same spot. You're bleeding. You're gonna die. You know. And nobody at this point should be trying to like be in the spotlight, because there's no spotlight. Everything is so saturated that like, like you're never going to be more famous than the person that does absolutely nothing on TikTok. So don't try. Like, I would say just follow your own. I don't know. I'm done giving advice on your episode, but this is like the you know, we'll start our own fucking therapy joint. Hey, maybe they need it. Who knows? But let's wrap it up soon. I want to have you on again soon, but before we get on, before we wrap it up, I want to see what's coming out soon on your end, on Crossworm. First, let's get into you, and then go into your label. Okay. I started working on a record called Caving Your Head In with a 9-iron. I really like the name. I'm probably going to keep it, but the beats that I have for that, I ended up kind of shelling them out to a couple of the new artists and stuff. So that's probably going to go on the back burner. The next thing that's going to come out is definitely going to be Samson's record. It's going to be a bigger expected time for that. Probably October. We're going to shoot for October. Word. You know, the whole Halloween thing, but cool. I don't usually like to do things last week of October, so maybe October 1st. It's too busy. Yeah. Especially so much releases too come out in October, so early October would be best for sure. Might have to bring out the pineapple fucking jack-o'-lantern and do it in the summer sometime, you know. But as far as me, I think another Animal record will come out of me before a Crossworm record. I jumped back in the studio the other day, and I'm rusty as fuck. On beats? Awful. No, on vocals. Oh. I'm dog shit. So it's gonna take me a while to get back into it, but right now I'm in like beat mode with these guys, so it'll be all about them. All right. And then so when would you expect your next release? Probably. The other guys will probably get on me about it, but in my mind I would say like early 2023. Okay. And they'll probably push a non-Animal, non-Heathen kind of project. It'll definitely be Crossworm, and I want to make they're going to influence me to do some more horror shit. I know it. I could just feel it coming. So it'll probably be a little more like a cross between Eat the Weak and Finding X, somewhere in the middle there.
hopefully.
That'd be cool, man. Like,
that's what I'd like to do.
I'm just excited to see what comes out of this label at this point, man. Like, because I was also, when the announcements were first made and I was first getting into you, because Jay Hex kind of turned me on to you around the time he kind of got me into you, like right before the announcements came, so it was perfect time for me to go down that rabbit hole. But I was just imagining like your beats and your production behind these different artists. I'm like, dude, this is going to be crazy. Especially like stuff from Eat the Week. I even said it during Max's interview. I'm like, that stuff off of Crossworm's last album, because I forgot what it was called, behind your vocals would be like, that'd be unstoppable.
I did just do a random single for Max on a beat the drums are so fucking gigantic. It's like, it sounds like something off of Eat the Week already. And it's that one song that's kind of just sitting there. I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? This is great. So
that's awesome, dude. Anything else to plug or that you want to shout out or bring up?
There's probably something, but right now I'm so like Dirtcore mode, tunnel vision. It's like as soon as that happened and I finally got off my ass, there is one thing, Samson's on me about this. He brought it up, but he was like, why aren't you doing fucking Devil's Night anymore? I gave him a whole bunch of reasons why. I would talk about it for an hour, but I was just like, it has to stop. Can't be that anymore. He's like, well, what about a continuation? What about something new? And I was like, okay, all right. So we've actually started working on that. And I might end up doing another Devil's Night type horrorcore series.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
So that'll be the other thing that I'll work on, is producing for that.
Nice, dude. Well, that's awesome. All super exciting stuff in the future.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I'm
just really happy. I think between Horror Crunk Entertainment, your label Dirtcore, Shrunken Head Entertainment.
Shrunken Head, yeah.
There's just a lot of stuff happening right now that's not getting the eyes, but I think like...
And it's all positive too, man. Like, it's just good shit. Like, there's no bullshit anymore. It seems like all that old bullshit's gone, you know? Mm-hmm. It's a great feeling for the scene. Yeah,
I think so too. I think it's like people might look back on this time as a special time in the underground history.
For sure. It's going to be a good era, I feel, man. Yep. For sure.
Cool, man. Well, that about wraps it up. I want to have you guys on. Like, I've been kind of talking to your guys back and forth about doing like maybe like a panel kind of thing sometime. Cool. So yeah, maybe sometime we can just do like a music panel type seminar kind of thing, just talk about music or something. But
yeah, man.
Yeah, I'd love to have you involved in any way possible. You're a great dude. You're really talented.
I appreciate you.
I'm super honored to have you on the show. So thank you.
All right. Thanks, brother.
All right.
Have a good one.
They had to bury me deep in the dirt. Man, it hurt to see me go, but I had to throw my fucking head up my shoulders. Yo, man, I know that I'm sick, but I quit being taken advantage of, and I had to get to the end of it. They dug a hole in the ground 6 feet, and they stuck me back with the maggots in the hole with the heat discreet. And when I broke the fucking door, they put my corpse back in the morgue with the weapon so I could go to war. In the sky with the light that shines, take away what I can say. You try, but you die. Now the pain will stay. Hit your knees, baby, break. You're either with or against the shacks of gray. I'm here to stay in the sky with the fire inside. Take away what I can say is divine, but they die. Now the pain will stay. Hit your knees, baby, break. You're either with or against, but either way, I'm here to stay. Fuck with me up in the mind, but inside I put a barricade deep and confined into the sidelines. Man, I know that you're fucked, but it sucks the way you feed all the lies and pass the buck. Fucking retarded for believing in any bit of hope. People can never change. Earth is at the end of the rope, and it will shake us off. Either way, I know I'm never lost. The debt is too high to pay, so we became the cost. I made a bet with your God many times. He is yet to pay his end of the deal. Nickel and dimes, wins 2 times, and the leaves turn to gray. I feel ignored into the core as a horrible cage here to stay. I'll open up with the bullet in the chamber. The temple of the mind inside full of danger. I see you cry when the weapon will close weary eyes and blow the back of my brains to bloody butterflies. In the sky with the light that shines, take away what I can say. You try, but you die. Now the pain will stay. Hit your knees, baby, break. You're either with or against. You're